Happy Friday. Once again, Justin Cody Worden, Director of Business Development with Austin American Technology, is here on the Friday Hot Seat special edition because we haven't done one in a little while. So I got Todd Rountree, President and COO, back out of his office. And how do you like the scenery today?
I tell you what, I like to travel, but I do love to get back home to Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We're coming into the summer months. It's starting to get pretty hot out here. So we figured we'd film outside for a change, enjoy the nice weather. We got a nice breeze coming through. We're going to keep this pretty short and sweet for the main reason that we got a train that runs back through here. You've probably heard it in a few of our other videos. So hopefully that train doesn't interrupt us today. But what we wanted to talk about on today's Friday Hot Seat is the lax and the COVID, or maybe the fact that more people are getting vaccinated. So COVID is a little less strict on some of the protocol. And you and I got to travel this week for the first time ever. First time I got to travel as an AAT employee. And geez, first time you've been on the road for what, over a year now?
It's been close to that, yeah.
Yeah, so well, we want to start by thanking Mike Young, Align Solution. He's our local rep up in the Midwest area for inviting us to join in as the Indiana chapter of the SMTA. And in fact, Todd was one of the 3 guest speakers and got to really dive into rose testing. So as far as that goes, Todd, how do you think you did in your presentation?
I think it was okay. I think it was an interesting format. As you know, the SMTA Indiana chapter actually did a hybrid event this year. So we had 2 speakers on premise, and then 1 speaker was actually remote via Zoom call. And then we had, several people in the room, as well as several more people from around the world.
Yeah, that's actually what I want to point out. I want to give huge kudos to the Indiana chapter of the SMTA, particularly Alistair, who is part of the board there for the Indiana chapter of the SMTA. And he did a phenomenal job of really kind of taking COVID and putting it to the side, making sure everyone was safe, of course, but installed this hybrid version of a way to reach out to so many people. I mean, you and I got to sit there in person with a good group of people, and we got to have a nice in-person conversation, but we also streamed it live via Zoom. And I think at one point we had north of 30, maybe even 40 people watching live from all over the world. Yes. And we got to have that nice interaction as opposed to what so many of us are guilty of doing, is just looking at a camera like you and I are doing now and talk.
True, yeah, that's all you do.
So I want to give a very special shout out to the host of the event, and that was Tammie Fish with DIVSYS International. They are at a phenomenal facility, and the people were great. So what do you think of the tour they gave us of their area?
That's a pretty amazing facility. They had had a lot of technologically advanced things, and having a full production line, but then also that research and development and test area that they have was just out of this world. Yeah,
that was, I'm still young and learning my ways in the industry. So every time I get to tour a facility, I'm just absolutely blown away by not only the technology, but the different systems, the people, and all the different skill sets that are in there. And I would have to say that is definitely the nicest, cleanest facility I've seen so far. And the R&D environment, that was out of this world. I mean, the way they can break down the elements that are on a board and actually just with essentially a computer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that how that works?
That's pretty much, yeah.
So we got to give a special shout out to the other guests that were part of the panel there. Obviously, Todd, Austin American. We got Kalyan Nukala from ZESTRON, and DIVSYS' very own Stan Bentley, who is a very brilliant man. And why don't we cut real quick? I want to show a couple of tidbits of his presentation as well as your presentation, because I was actually blown away by how simple he broke down some of the most complex questions that you and I face on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and take a look at that right now.
The no clean flux. And again, the leave on, I take issue with that because yes, you do. But the real issue with the no clean flux is that it is an active flux. There are active, even though they're weak, they're organic acids, they are still available in the flux. And if we do not do something in the soldering process, if we simply leave them, then they create all of the problems that the other 2 speakers have talked about.
So proposed improvements to rose testing would be to allow the selection of pure water and other deionized solvents to be used for rose testing, designing extraction solvents to dissolve free ions, not encapsulated ions, as well as select extraction solvents that work and do not cause problems like white residues. And then also, we feel pretty strongly about incorporating rose testing 100% into the cleaning process. If you test all the boards, you eliminate sampling one board at a time. Now, some of the drawbacks that we can experience with that is that with one board, you actually have a value for one board. When we do it in a batch process, you get a value for all the boards in the batch. But unfortunately, as a process control, it's still a better way to manage exactly what's happening in your process, because if you're passing, and all of a sudden you get a fail, it's, at least it's isolated to those particular boards in the batch, not the entire lot that you've done all day.
All right, we're back, Todd. That's got to be kind of awkward watching yourself give a presentation as I question you about your own presentation.
Yeah, well, it happens.
That's right. We got the cool guy shades on, so we can hide behind them. But we didn't only go to Indianapolis for the SMTA. Fortunately, we got to visit a client of ours that had another absolutely phenomenal and clean facility. What were your kind of reaction?
Well, that place was a definitely state of the art. I mean, if you remember, kind of looking around, everything in there was new. I have toured several floors before, and to see the innovation that's there, because there were a lot of pieces of equipment on that floor that don't exist anywhere else. Very, very custom, very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's what I was most impressed with as well. And we're going to leave the name of the client out for their own request, but they make a very unique part as well.
Yes.
And this whole transition that we're seeing across the world with cars going from gas to electric, even in the industry that they're in, you wouldn't actually think of how that would apply, but seeing that they had to upgrade all their systems and, like you said, customize them to fit this new electronic narrative that we're all being faced with as gas prices continue to rise.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah,
that
so
is the truth.
We thank them very much for hosting us. Looks like we're going to probably be able to get a couple more of our Aqua Roses in there, purely out of demand, which is great as more of our clients are starting to bring things stateside and bring them in-house.
Yeah, and one other thing that was really unique about that visit for me was that we actually sold them the first piece of equipment, their first Aqua Rose that they had there, in 2020. So during COVID, it was really kind of one of our first hybrid style sales. In fact, we actually did a virtual installation on that.
Yep.
Once they actually received their machine. So to be able to see them up and running, of course, the COVID restrictions lifting a little bit, that we could actually go in, and then of course to hear or find out that they actually want 3, possibly 4 more of them was really nice.
That's always music to our ears. Hopefully they weren't just saying that because we're there in person, but
we'll see.
I'm pretty sure we'll go ahead and get that. And then I guess the last part of our trip that we want to shed some light on, we had a very, very fun dinner. We got to meet up with some new partners of ours. We want to give a special shout out to Rodney and Mark over at Specialty Coating Systems. They're an absolutely mammoth of a company in their little niche market that they work in too. I would definitely say when it comes to rose testing and conformal coating, I don't think you can talk to anyone better.
No, definitely not. It was a real pleasure getting to hang out with them and get to know them a little bit better, and of course thanking them for willing to partner with us.
Yeah, absolutely. The most important thing, it was just so fun to be out there, be at the airport. It seems like things are starting to buzz a little bit, and I don't want that to come across as, we're letting people be laxed on the COVID restrictions, but I think it's more of a sense of responsibility. Everyone's really taken a responsible approach to working with COVID and just being out there, being able to travel. We wore our mask on the airplane. It's terrible, but I'd rather wear a mask and be able to fly than not wear a mask and not be able to fly.
That's right.
So
That's true.
It was a great time, and it was fun being on the road with you for the first time. And I think for our next Friday hot seat, well, we're actually traveling again next week.
We are, yeah.
So I guess next week, maybe we'll give us a few more days. That's a big travel, so we might need a few more days to get our next Friday hot seat out. But I hope you guys tune in. Let us know if you have any questions. And as always, visit Austin American Technology at AAT-corp.com. And you can give me a call directly at 512-756-4150. And my extension is 110. Todd and Justin out.
Guys.